All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Connections with Spirit.
Yes, welcome, welcome. And I was just checking, and we are on YouTube, so that's a good place to be.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's a very
Oh,
good place to be. So,
well, I'm Larissa Russell of Heart Centered Academy.
and I'm Deborah Epstein of Cosmic Dreaming Lodge, which is funny. I was like, oh, we're got to introduce ourselves.
Remember
Well,
to do that. Yes.
yeah, well, we've been chatting for a little bit, so I'm already in casual mode. So let's go the distance.
We were just talking, well, about the energy and what we're going to talk about today because it's been coming up. And Deb just pulled a card for us. Deb, did you want to share it, or did you want to keep it?
No, we
Yeah.
can share it. Yeah, it's from the what is it? The Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reed, and so it is the Go the Distance card. So this is gonna set, it's setting, let it set on our intention, our direction. We were talking about a lot of things related to what we're going to be talking about. And then I said, show me something that we need to see about this live stream. And this is what came up, and we both cracked up. So the essential meaning of the card is endurance, strength, and the long haul. The message is to bring your dream to life, you must think long term and pay no attention to the fluctuations in the current of your experience. Joy and disappointment commingle with opportunities. So there is no need to fear the occasional obstacle. Life is not a sprint. This card is a reminder that you have endurance, strength, and fortitude to carry you all the way. Remain true to yourself. Your authenticity alone will keep you in alignment with the energy of miracles. What is yours will never be withheld from you. Remember that. And we thought, oh, well, I know I thought, you can say what you thought, but I won't tell you what you thought. But
Yeah.
it was perfect to, like, this is what the topic is. Basically, it's like kind of good advice for all of us to remember as we kind of launch into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just had to laugh because I keep getting the same message. So I'm using the Osho Zen Tarot this month. I added a bunch of my decks to the Wheel of Names, spun it, and that's my deck for this month. And I've never used it before. And the other day I had to double check because I keep getting the same cards repeatedly. There's 78 cards in this deck, and I keep getting the same cards or some variation of them, but I've had duplicates, triplicates of cards. And so the other day I was looking to make sure I wasn't just have like 8 of the same 6 cards or 10 of the same cards.
Are you messing with me up there?
I have all the cards, but the messages. And so other people, including yourself last week, have also pulled cards for me that got a very similar message. Right. Listening. And then are you though? Are you though is what I get, right? Because you wouldn't keep getting them if you were. So.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, it's just, I would just look at that as an engagement. Maybe you're just on the right track and it's a reminder, not that you're doing it wrong, or, just to keep you in the energy of repetition, keep coming back to it, yeah, when we're learning a new skill, we don't do it that one time and go, oh yeah, I mastered it.
Which is very much in alignment with what we're talking about today.
Yes, it's just everywhere, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. So true. And welcome everyone. And the banner did go across, but if you have any questions, any comments, want to jump into the conversation at any point, we love that. So we do get them here in the studio. So, comment away and we will reply to you, join you. You can be a part of our conversation as well. But yeah, good morning, Tanya from Australia.
Good morning from Australia. Yeah.
Yes. And we have these conversations. We don't, it's not like we set up our topics for the month or anything. But we meet weekly. And so last week when we were chatting, of course, we have these coincidences, synchronicities, whatever we want to call it, we experience the energy that's happening. And so it's like, oh, that's happening with me too. And here's how it's happening with me. And so we thought this topic, especially at this time of year, seemed to make a lot of sense about, what are these shifts that we're feeling? How are we navigating the world that we're in?
Mhm.
One of the things we were talking about was, as, leaders we own businesses and we have followers and are considered leaders of some sort, right?
Leaders, teachers,
I don't
yeah.
really think about it that way, but are
Yeah.
considered that, and somewhat put on a pedestal, like we are going to have the answers, or we are going to know the things, or we're going to behave in a certain way.
Hmm.
And as a hot mess over here, I
Hmm.
can tell you that that is not the case. And yet I still catch myself because I've been taught, it's been very indoctrinated into me.
It's in our culture too. It's what's modeled to us
Yes.
as well. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And
That you have to behave a certain way.
yeah,
And
go ahead.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to kind of say that, what it is we're changing a paradigm.
Mhm.
We're shifting a paradigm. And so you get to be a hot mess and let people see you being a hot mess. And, it's, yes, being out of, it's just being, that's the leadership. I would say the way we should be doing it, not like, you know, there's so much powerlessness in the way that we've done, like teachers, therapists, anyone that is, we perceive above us, that because they're above us in a certain position, and usually they're getting paid more, that they have more answers, they know more, they're better than, and it just sets up a competition. And it also sets up a lot of resentment too. If you're like, say you're a person that you're maybe trying to break into this sort of business and you're extremely knowledgeable, however, you may not have the skills yet of how to market yourself in this arena, or you're still learning all that kind of stuff. And you see people out there doing, maybe they're doing great work, but what you have to offer is really superior, and you're not getting what you feel like you need, right?
Mhm.
So it's paying attention to your own pathway. It doesn't mean anything that if you haven't built it yet, it doesn't mean that you're not going to build it. It's the energy shifting, and authenticity and walking your talk is becoming, more of a commodity
Mhm.
than keeping the perpetuation of, I'm up here, I've got all these followers, so that means I'm better, not necessarily.
Yeah, but when you're taught that, right? Like you're taught
Yeah,
that money speaks, and power over, not power within, but power over is so
right.
important. Those numbers
Hmm.
become so important.
Yeah.
And a lot of people base their self-worth off of those numbers. The
Hmm.
money in the bank account, the likes and follows and all of that.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with it. And we're now starting to see, like you said, people
Hmm.
want to connect, right? So they want real people. They want to see that authentic self. Good thing for me. So, 'cause I can only keep it up for so long, and then I catch myself, right? And
Hmm.
that's true for most people. Then you catch yourself, and then it's like, oh, do I want to keep doing this? It's
Hmm.
not really feeling great to do this. You know, one of the things that I've been working on is just showing up, right?
Yeah.
With the mess. And I've been telling myself to do a live a day. I've now challenged myself to two a week. Just do that
Hmm.
to get started. And it's like, I don't have to do my makeup. I don't have to do my hair. I don't have to do all the things. I can
Hmm.
just show up, which I
Hmm.
do in my community.
Hmm.
But to go out in the public where people
Hmm.
don't know me and know I'm going to be judged, then you play this whole other head game with yourself.
Yeah.
And it's so ridiculous,
It is
right?
ridiculous. Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we all do it until we go, wait, I
Yeah.
don't
And
need
it's
to.
a real thing too. Like, you just made me think of, like, so my husband's company, Werewolf Gear, he has supportive devices for blind people. So it's, blind people use a cane, and ours, the ones we make, are supportive, so they can not just, detect obstacles and identify themselves as being blind, but they can also use it as support. So it's really important because blind people too love to go out and be outdoors and hike, but they need that extra level of support and the ability to detect obstacles, because basically it's their eyes. So we know this young man, he's not a young man, he just looks really young. He's from Kenya, and he just summited 7 of the peaks fully blind, with using the all-terrain cane, which is an Aware with Your product. And we're super proud of him, and very supportive of him. And, my husband did an interview with him last week. And one of the things he said was, and you would think that people would get behind this, right? He gets a lot of hecklers. He gets a lot of abusive emails and messages on his Instagram, thinking that he's saying that he's faking being blind. Because, and this is the infomercial part, or the informative part. People who are born blind, their eyes, from lack of use, tend to recede back into the skull because they're not being used. People who lose their vision over time maintain a look of a person that can see, because they know how to use their eyes because they've been doing it at some point. This runs into a problem. My husband faces it all the time, is that when he's out and about, he doesn't look blind until he starts bumping into things, or you can tell he's trying to navigate, or he pulls his cane out. And he's gotten heckled too, yelled at by people when we've been out in public. Like, what business do you have driving? We when we were driving across the country, I think I shared this with you. Someone called the cops on us because we stopped at a rest stop, and he was pumping gas. I went into the store to get something, probably use the toilet or whatever. And when I came back, the cops were there because someone had reported him as driving. He wasn't driving, he was pumping gas, but they made the connection somehow that because he was pumping gas, he must be driving. So they got all alarmed. Oh my God, this man is blind and he's driving. So it's like that kind of stuff. And it's born out of not knowing, Most people who have low vision had vision at one point. It's a smaller percentage of people that were born blind. And so that's some of the work that we're doing to shift that perception, right?
And in every realm that is happening, right?
Yeah.
The judgments that we make based on our own perceptions, which is based on what, our own experiences or lack thereof, then inform how we behave, or in the judgment does. And then you have to take a step back, hopefully, and go, well, does that make sense? Maybe I could go ask that guy.
Yeah.
Are you driving? Should I be concerned?
Yeah.
Just watch and see if he's actually going to drive away.
Yeah. Do you need help driving? Do you have someone?
Instead of phoning the police and making a thing about it. But
yeah,
it's true, those perceptions that we have about things. And then, I know from talking to Dave, then you're also concerned about being in certain situations, knowing how people are going to perceive you.
Yeah.
Same with me, right? Like, okay, I might be okay in my own head. Oh, I don't need makeup. I don't need to do my hair to show up in public. However, I know how people are going to perceive me.
Right.
So then am I prepared to deal with that? Am I okay in my own self? Do I feel comfortable enough? And some days I absolutely do. And some days I don't. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get to that place. I'm working on getting to that place where I always do.
Yeah. And that's our inner work, right? Yeah. Because it doesn't matter. In the end, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. And how do we change the world we live in if we're expecting the outside to change us? It's not going to happen that way. And, we had also talked when we were coming upon this about, we were talking about the new earth for the last however many years, the new earth is coming, and, and it's a conscious consciousness shift. Where does the shift happen? It happens from us doing our work, but it's not just doing the work and keeping it to yourself. It's doing the work and then letting the work shine through you. Shine through you, because that's how you shift the world. It's not a linear process where you have to now, I want to change this world. Oh my gosh. So many of us too that are healers and teachers, artists, people that have a passion for transformation, come into this work because, and I know I did it too, and I'm pretty sure you probably did too. Like, my mission is to shift the world, but you shift the world by shifting this world, And if you don't shift this world, there's going to be that incongruency. And we do see that in some of our leaderships and some of our teachers, not walking the talk. Right. And it's about.
Yeah. This is one of the things that I've really been exploring for my own self, right? Because I know the things.
Yeah.
But am I doing the things? And so holding my own self accountable to do the things that I know are the things that need to be done.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm going to teach you to do this, whatever X is, am I doing that? Or am I just telling you because I know it?
Right.
Right. And I've caught myself in that one. And so I'm very consciously doing the things. Whereas before I probably would like flit in and out, and because I knew it, and it's like, so very much that way when I first started, I had this stuff I wanted to share. And yeah, I had done the things, but was I still doing the things? Now I very much live what I teach.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an important part, but it also comes from learning, right? Being in this world on a daily basis, sharing with people every day versus, I used to do workshops. I used to do the occasional class. I'm in this every day. And to be able to share that, I need to live it every day.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's very true. And I was sharing with you too, the people that come here to the lodge to do the work on the land and stuff like that. It's not that I'm the expert of the land, and it's not that I'm the expert of the medicine field. I'm a custodian, and I'm someone that goes out and has a relationship with the land. I've been on my own journey and have opened to my own things. Does that mean I'm going to give you the exact pathway that I went through? Absolutely not. My job is to listen to what is coming up in your life. What are you wanting to move and shift in your life? And then all I really do is I set the stage and hold the space for you to have the experience. And guess what? As I'm doing that, I'm receiving something too. I'm receiving a teaching from the land while I'm holding that space. I'm seeing things and noticing things, working with another. So there's a unification in the energetic field. And if I step out of alignment to that and I start thinking that I know it all and that I'm the expert, I break that magical moment because I'm not doing the teaching. It's Pachamama. The energy of the earth is working with that person. I'm just the intermediary that sets up that experience for it to happen. I can't have the experience for you or them. And, I can't heal or fix them. I can't give them this is what you do, but I can read the energy and hear what is being, the wisdom coming through them that they might not be able to see, or I can reflect something back to them that may be good medicine for them to do or to live through. But as far as taking the journey for another, nobody can do that, and that's, we have to learn that as patients. We have to learn that as students, as, participants in any experience that's being put out there, that A, you're an important part of the equation. B, you're part of the medicine field that's being created. You're part of the energetic field that's being created. And C, you're a recipient of something that's being generated by the whole, and it's your responsibility to enact it in your life. And those are, and there's probably more, but those are the those are the major ones right there,
And that is so true. I have found I don't do as much hands-on healing work as I used to. And you and I have had this conversation before about, people coming and wanting to be fixed, right? Like, just fix me.
Yeah.
do the thing and I'll be all better. And we do the same thing with doctors and,
Yeah. That's the
anybody in that
system,
hierarchy.
right? Yeah. You don't know anything. You know nothing.
Yeah. Well,
I have all the wisdom.
and you can't, whether it's, a doctor, Western medicine, whether it's a healing practice, whatever it is, you
Mhm.
cannot rely on somebody else to fix you.
Right.
This is all internal work that you have to do yourself.
Yep.
You can go for guidance. You can go, to have someone hold space for you. You can ask questions, but you have to do the work.
Mhm.
You always have to do the work. And that, I think, is a big piece of what's missing in our culture,
Oh,
is
yeah.
that we've gotten so far away from that.
Yeah, and we have to live it out too. It's like once you learn, like how did I create this? Think about whatever situation, just think about whatever situation you're in currently that you're pushing against, you want to shift, you don't like, and ask that question, you know, you know, and then what is it that I need to do, be or to see to shift it. And it's not going to happen in a linear way, because maybe it came in because you asked for something and it came to you, but it came and wrapped with a lesson.
Mhm.
And it's a co-creation too. So I was, I was laughing when we were talking earlier too, because I was like, we can't just sit. I'm going to point here, sit in your studio wishing for something to happen, However, that being said, I was saying how like I really wanted to start connecting with community. And, this weekend I had like 2 connections that I made, but they came from people that don't live in Sedona, that connected me with people inside Sedona. And I'm like, well, that's really funny. So the next steps have to be mine, right? So Spirit was like, okay, yeah, here you go. Here's this connection. I got to say yes and get on the phone with this person or a Zoom call or invite them to my house, right?
Mhm.
Have tea or go to tea with them, somehow connect with them. And then I also like, oh, here, call this person. I have to make that phone call. I have to I can't just sit. I just can't sit in the solitude of this beautiful space I love and expect everything to come to me. And I think there's a certain aspect of all of us, creators, dreamers, that are kind of would love for that to happen. But part of the walk is the experience of making those connections, getting
Yeah.
out of your comfort zone, you
Taking
know,
action.
taking action, and that, yes, that is scary.
Mhm.
It is very scary, depending on what it is that your soul is calling you to do. What is spirit calling you to do that you're hesitating in, that you're resisting in, that you're waiting for someone to come save you from.
And really exploring that. It
Yeah.
it's so true. And it's so funny because you're talking about community, and everyone's talking about community, and we need community, and
Hmm.
people are really craving community.
Hmm.
And my engagement in community from even my regulars has dropped off.
Hmm.
And so we were having some discussions around, and I'm not the only one facing this, a lot of people are, as
Hmm.
we're all craving community, we just kind of want it to come to us and be, you know, just on my own time, but we have to take that action. We have
Yes.
to, if we're craving something, we know we need it, whether it's community, whatever it is, we have to take the action towards it.
Hmm.
And one of the conversations we were having in the community is how to not accommodate that, because we don't want to change for each individual person, but how to make the space open. And everyone's like, oh, your space is really open, you really don't need to do that. But there's obviously an energy that's causing people to crave something but turn away from that something.
Hmm.
So how do we open into that energy of allowing?
Hmm.
And it's individual, right? It's individual. We have to do it. So it doesn't matter how many, you know, community events I have or different things that we do individually. We have to do that work.
Mhm.
to be able to come together in the collective. How badly do you want it? And maybe you don't recognize how badly you want it. You just know something's missing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so opening yourself up to that. And that's one of the reasons that I want to be more out in the public, sharing things, is talking about things like that,
Yeah.
because we often don't even notice the things. You know, we might say, oh, I want more community, or I want, I want more friends, or I want more of this or that, or whatever it is. And then we just don't know what to do and how to get it.
Yeah.
So as someone who shares, I feel called to share more in public spaces, how
Mhm.
to, and not that every one way is going to be the way, right?
Mhm.
But as in, we are responsible for our own selves.
Yeah.
We need to step up. We need to show up. We need to do the things if we want to affect change. If
Yeah.
we keep doing the same things, we're going to keep getting the same things.
Yeah.
We have to make change. And
Mhm.
it's super uncomfortable. And our brain is going to do all these things that says, no, 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 don't do that. But we cannot make change unless we do that uncomfortable thing.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, now, all that to say, I will be showing up more.
Yeah, and sometimes you feel like, and I've experienced this too. It's like, I'm doing all the things I love doing, but I still feel like there's something missing. What is it? Is it like I'm not making enough money? Is it like, maybe I need to spend more time? It's usually like time and money are the first things that come up. But it's like, no, what is it? Maybe I don't know. And maybe just put that out there. I don't know what it is. I just feel like I'm missing something. Maybe, if I turn this feeling over to spirit and say, I'm going to turn this, I'm going to stop wrestling with this feeling, making it wrong, or trying to guess what it is, or trying to do the things to get it to shift. Maybe it's that niggling feeling that just, you get to say, you know what, I don't know what this niggling feeling is. Here, spirit, I'm going to give it to you. Show me something that I just can't, for some reason, get through my thick head. And it's just an admission that, like, I'm caught up in my humanness right now. And, I'm feeling this feeling. I don't know what it is. And then see what happens, see what shows up, and say yes a lot, just start saying yes a lot to things. And you'll have experiences that will teach you something about that niggling feeling, and it can be very magical if you let it be like play. If you are taking it too seriously and putting constraints on it and it has to be a certain way, it's going to be a little painful,
And knowing that those are the things we're taught, right? We're taught from birth that things have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
We do things this way. They need to be this way. And they don't.
Yeah.
It just means that you're stepping out of the line if you do it a different way.
Yeah. It's
But
so
you
funny.
don't have to do it that way.
It's so funny. I made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today, just one. And it was reminding me of like an interaction my daughter had with her husband around making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So she's making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. She gets the bread out. She gets her knife out. She gets the peanut butter. Then she cleans the knife off on the bread and then puts the jelly on. And he's looking at her and he's like, why don't you use 2 knives? And then she's like, well, this is how my mom taught me to do it. And I'm like, I don't know if I taught you how to do it, but you definitely saw me doing it that way. And I said, do you want to know where that came from? And she's like, yeah. I said, because we get into so much trouble if we got anything into my dad's Jif peanut butter. That was his favorite peanut butter. He loved to just eat peanut butter. And if we fouled his peanut butter, we would get into so much trouble. So it's like, it didn't occur to us as kids to like, we could use more than one knife. We're living in a lack mentality. So we only have so many knives that we can get dirty. So it was like, oh, we got to clean this knife off. Peanut butter on first so it doesn't get contaminated. So it's like it's like stupid stuff like that. It comes from somewhere. And so when you think about like the silly things that we do as human beings, and they're not silly to us as we're doing them, we're just doing them unconsciously. We have no idea why. If you could ever get the story from one of your ancestors as to how that started and why, we would probably laugh about it, but then we'd easily be able to go, you know what, I have a choice. I can still do it this way because it's comfortable and there's no harm, no foul. Or, you know what, now that I have this awareness that this behavior was born out of fear, I can do this in an abundant way. You know, like what would an abundant way of making peanut butter and jelly be, you know? So it's
Yeah, 2 knives, 2 spatulas, 2 like, I
yeah,
don't know.
whatever.
I
Yeah.
mean, that way it just made sense to me because I'm a process person. Like, process-wise, that made sense to me,
Yeah.
but you did it for a very different reason.
Yeah, and being a little kid, you know,
Yeah.
you can't be creative when you're under threat. You just can't be. It's
No,
like whatever
no.
gets the job done.
Yeah. It's a good point, though, about questioning, where some of these things come from,
Yeah.
and we often don't think about it. I know my grandkids, when they ask me certain things now, I have to
Mhm.
stop and go, "Oh," or sometimes I know the answer, but I've never changed it because, of whatever reason. But they're going, "Well, that's different," because they're getting things from 2 different sides, right? They've got
Yeah.
another family that they see, and they do it differently.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
like, "Well, why do you do it that way?" And
Yeah.
I'm always been with my grandkids, ask any question, like,
Yeah.
ask any question. And so, it's like, "Oh, yeah, well, this is why, because, my parents did this, and that's why we did it," and, all of those sort of things. But
Yeah.
uh, ask why.
Yeah.
Ask your own
And
self why.
yeah.
Ask why.
And then you think about like, yeah, like what you kind of said, and then you grow up, you have different families on either side that kind of do stuff a certain way. And then you grow up, you get married, and your spouse has the same kind of thing and they're doing something totally different. And so, yeah, it is kind of interesting how we step into our own self, we become more of who we are, and the truth of who we are, just kind of naturally comes in. But yes, we have to work it, at a certain point. We have to go, okay, now I'm doing so much stuff unconsciously and I've been lucky, but I want to start moving through the world with a greater mindfulness, and that's where
Mhm.
that just becoming aware of how you move through the world. And, believe it or not, your body is set up in the pattern of how you've been moving through the world. And it's not crazy if you start changing your patterns and your body starts to get sore. It's because your body needs to shift to be able to be in your new way of doing things,
Mhm.
just simple. I broke my arm and now I broke my right arm. I'm right arm dominant and now I have to use my left hand. That's a whole different pattern of movement for your body, whole different way of thinking for your brain, where you used to just automatically go for something with your right hand. You probably do it right. And then you go, oh, very quickly, right? I can't use it because it's hurt or it has a cast on it. So now you have to like spend the time kind of reprogramming your
Yeah.
body to do this, to act in this new way. So it's the same thing when you like are making changes to how you be in the world. You take your body with you, everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, not to say that you shouldn't do anything new because you're going to hurt your body. No, you want to be more fluid so that you can do anything. That's really what I'm saying.
I highly encourage pattern disruption like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're, right hand dominant,
Hmm.
write with your left hand, right?
Hmm.
You're journaling that day, left hand, or do daily drawings with your left hand, whatever it is. If you typically do something one way, doesn't have to be just, hands, but if you typically, I don't know, play goalie, go play defense or go play offense, I guess would be the opposite. Whatever, be do those pattern disruptions that
Yeah.
will make you, look at things differently
Yeah.
and be able to see, is this a pattern just because I've always been doing it, or
Hmm.
does it actually serve me? And
Yeah.
when you disrupt your patterns like that, you can figure out, is this a pattern that's serving me or not?
Hmm.
Sometimes you can figure it out without disrupting the pattern, but then you don't do anything about it.
Hmm.
And so just try something different to see
Yeah.
what would happen.
Yeah. And I'm sure this happens to you too. It's when you're in your, because you're in your studio space a lot.
Mhm.
So am I. But there's a certain point when you come in one day and you just kind of go, something, it's not that it feels off. It's just that you have this sense, I got to do something different. Something has to shift, right? And so, I'll start by like moving a couple of things, and a lot, I do end up shifting my studio around a lot because there's a shift. I mean, I have a whole field of energy that I'm doing here, and it's very palpable when you're in here. And so when there's a shift in the field, it has to reflect in here, in the way I do my work and how I move through the space. And I just move things around till I go, it feels good in my body. And then I start acting in it. And that's where it gets kind of fun, because it's like, okay, where did I put that thing? And where is this thing? Made sense when I put it over there. But it's like, I have to get used to the space again, which that's an awesome pattern disrupt. So like, if you feel like you're stagnating in your work or something, you can initiate a shift for yourself by shifting something in your outer world. I used to tell people too, like, just something off, like, something small, like the way you brush your teeth, notice how you brush your teeth and shift something. Because what you're doing on a very small level is you're just rewiring something, if you, because how often do you go to brush your teeth and it's just like total unconscious, right?
Yep.
That consciously, like, I'm going to do this thing before that thing, or I'm going to, brush the right side before I, because I normally go in and I, actually that was my left side, but I'm going to brush my right side instead of my left. Or I'm going to brush my teeth with my left hand since I'm right-handed, right? So that's just another way of doing it, right? Just pick something that you do every day already and shift how you go about doing it. Brushing your hair, pay attention. Do you brush your hair? Where do you start brushing your hair? Is it the same all the time? Drying, just showering, that kind of stuff. Like, just start paying attention to the things you have routinized already, and then make a shift somewhere in there and just notice what happens.
Yeah. And it does exactly that. It doesn't have to be a shift because there's something wrong.
Yeah.
It's just to bring awareness.
Yeah.
Right. We do so many things unconsciously.
Yeah.
And to bring that mindfulness into what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, and then go back to the unconscious again, if if it's serving you, but just do those check-ins.
Yeah. And I think it's important too, to understand that, like, if it's serving you, that's you kind of went over it real fast, but like, that's a big part of this. Like, we have unconscious behaviors that aren't in service. They're in service to something that we've moved through already. Right. So it's in service to something that's keeping you held back, so I wouldn't necessarily say it's a block, but it's in service to an old, something you were trying to create, something old. And, do I need to keep doing it this way? Yeah, I could probably shift it and make it be of service to me. But if you have like unconscious behaviors that are patterns of, operating during your day that are really working for you and you're enjoying it, like, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's what we want to do. That's embodiment, right? It's like when we learn something new, think about anything you do, like riding a bike or, playing a sport, like pickleball is such a big thing, right? Right. I got to learn how to play pickleball. It's awkward at first. And then you have this one day where everything falls into place, and now you're playing pickleball and you're not thinking about it. You're doing all these cool shots and moves, and it's the physical part of us, but we don't think about that part unless it's related to sports. But we do move around in these bodies all the
time. And then that check-in of what is serving us, right? I find this a lot as I'm unpacking a lot of traumas, for lack of a better word, from childhood, because it was just my life. I never really thought about them as traumas or anything really negative even. It was my life.
Yeah.
And then you talk to a number of people who are like, oh, you should really write a book about that. You should really know about all the things that have gone on. And it's like, and then as you start to look at things, it's like, oh, how am I still bringing that pattern in? Like, fear about certain things, or, acting a certain way that's not necessarily serving you.
Yeah.
Showing up for the lives is a perfect example. I do it all the time in my community, publicly, because I have been, that is one of the messaging I got, that you behave a certain way, you do a certain thing, you look a certain way. And
Mm-hmm.
I was the odd one out. So it was constantly brought to my attention. And so unconsciously, I was just like, well, I shouldn't be there. I have to look a certain way if I'm going to do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the messaging I kept telling myself. And so trying to break that then is like doing the thing, but, doing the thing, being uncomfortable with the thing. Not every day am I prepared to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But once I do it more and more, break that pattern, it'll get to the point where I can do it every day. When I first started teaching online, I could not even do a video, right? That I was terrified of video because of the messaging that I got. I was unphotogenic. I ruined all the photos, all of these things. I have a beautiful brother who's a model and a dancer. So, although I have
Damn
to say,
him.
I may have aged better. I'm not dissing you, Matt, but I may have aged better. But
who's better looking now?
he's worn all the makeup and the harsh lights from dancing and all of those things. Yes, he has a beautiful body, but his face has aged much more than mine. And the messaging that I got then caused this huge anxiety. Compound that with public speaking being the number one fear that people have. And I didn't so much have a public speaking. I could get up on stage. I could talk to people, not a problem. But to get on video was a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And so the work that I've done, and now, I'm on video all day, every day.
Yeah.
Don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
So it's next level now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You desensitize to it. Yeah. I was reading something too, like, I think it was like Henry Fonda would get stage fright every time for his whole life. He'd have to throw up before he'd go on, go do something. And so, but he overcame it, he didn't overcome that pattern of throwing up, but he overcame the fear and got himself doing it anyway. But I find that fascinating that we find a way to live with it, if we don't know how to shift it, or, back then, consciousness and healing and stuff wasn't like it is now, where we're investigating these things. We just gotta suck it up and do it, just have a bucket ready for me, right? Because it's what I do. This is part of the program. I throw up and then I'm good, right? But nowadays we go like, oh geez, what triggered that, and like, maybe he should, get some sort of therapy for that and talk it out, so that he doesn't have to do that. But it's really interesting how those dynamics have changed over time, for sure.
Yeah.
And there is a desensitization. I remember the first time I went and did a live on Facebook, and I felt like I was going in front of a firing squad. I thought I was going to die. And I look at it now and I go like, man, I was kind of like, don't hurt me. But now it's like, yeah, and I say that often. It's like, I never thought, I would be doing the things that I do now. And, I'm still kind of going back to doing more hands-on and connecting with people, like not just online. I think that became a pattern for me of like comfortability. I can't say that word. Comfortability, whatever. Somebody help me. See, even that, like, I don't care. Being comfortable. Found a way around it. It became a pattern. I'm comfortable doing it. And so there's an intimacy thing there. There's a safety, right? There's a distance on this format. Like, even though it's connection with spirit, connection with you can trick yourself into thinking that like, this is a safer mode of communication. Now it's scary to get with people and be in community with people because you're closer to them, you're feeling them, you're in experience of their idiosyncrasies and their quirkinesses and all, and you're you have to like see yourself in a different way. So it's a whole nother, and I think COVID was part of that. We really exploded into media and video and Zoom and all that kind of stuff. And those of us who were uncomfortable became comfortable in this, and now it's almost like, oh, I gotta be comfortable now in person, so
as someone who spends so much time in the studio office,
yeah.
oh, the world out there, but because it's different energy to do that again. And so I am encouraging myself and doing more things outside of the home office, to do those things, to reconnect, because I used to do a fair bit of it. But I'm doing it much more consciously, because before I lived in such a unconscious space, and I would run and do. And I'm not open to that anymore. I have no desire to live that life anymore. So I'm very conscious about spending time with people in the world, outside in the world. And the energy that is being shared in that space, right? And so that is a real difference. And I think a lot of us who have not gone back out into the world in such a big way, we were doing so much internal work that it's like a protection now to
I'm in my little bubble here. My bubble of safety. And it's amazing too, because I can go out in the world and still keep the bubble around me,
conscious, but you have to be conscious about what you're doing.
But I mean unconsciously too. Like, it's funny because I'm thinking about like when I lived in New England, I knew someone that moved from California. In California, you've been there, like how close all the houses are, and everybody has fences and stuff like that. And in New England, it's a little bit more, it's congested, but there's a lot more open space. But what she said is she's like, in California, there's fences everywhere, but here the people have the fences around them. It's hard to connect with people. So I grew up that's where I grew up. And I find it really interesting that's where I, started doing my healing work and being an artist and stuff like that. Being an artist, doing the kind of visionary work I was doing, like that was more like emotionally driven with people that don't want to feel. And that was part of what I was like, why am I here doing this? What am I supposed to be learning? And I did get to a point where I wanted to, or it was the right time for. I don't like the word need, because it wasn't really like a need, but it was in a sense, that it was time. It was time to leave that environment and come into something different that was more congruent with who I am and what I'm doing and stuff. But it was just really, every time I would come to Sedona too, I'd go back to my town and I'd be like, I don't feel like I fit in here. It's like everything's going too fast for me. So it is too. It is kind of seeing how your rhythm is changing as you're doing your inner work, and then taking having the courage to shift with that. Finding your rhythm is always going to shift. It's the earth. There's an earth rhythm, and there's your rhythm with the earth. Because you're connected, but you're autonomous. We have a way of being able to feel.
We are one, and we are all one.
Yeah, it's exactly. Both. You're uniquely you, and part of a whole. Like think about a gem. With all those facets.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I don't know if I disappeared.
No, I see you, but your expression is kind of interesting, and I can hear you.
This is an issue. My computer goes black, and then this happens. So and I'm frozen on YouTube, which is super fun. Because those looks that I do, but I am here.
And I'm still active. Oh yeah, I'm still active on there too. I froze for half a second, but I'm still moving around, I see. And now you're off screen. Yeah, is that better for you?
Yeah, well, I just turned it off, because sometimes that'll kick it back on. I don't know if it's a computer, an energy thing, but it's been happening a lot lately. So I don't I'm not too sure. And sometimes there was just a lull right there where I felt something,
Yeah.
and then my whole computer went black, and then I disappeared off the screen. And so just as that was happening, I'm like, what is the message in this, right? What is the
Mm-hmm.
message in all of this? And yeah, I'm not too sure right now, but I'm going to explore it further and see if it
Yeah, you're still in
well,
that freeze frame for me anyway. Yeah.
I'll just leave it like that so you can, see my face, but not see my face.
Yeah. She's like a glowing ring.
Well, on that note, we're getting close to time, so we could probably start wrapping up.
Yeah.
What any final thoughts before we go?
Well, let's see. We were talking about, oh yeah, we were kind of starting to go into rhythms and shifting and stuff like that. So something I'm doing, I'm noticing that for me, the way I'm working is shifting again. And there's just, the energy's just always so fluid, and it's getting, I believe, more and more potent, easier for us to feel. I think the more of us that are coming online and connecting with it, of course, it's larger in our awareness, right? It's consciousness, right? And it's really interesting. I was very, very diligent about getting a Substack post out every single week. And since December, when I first noticed, like, something's different, it's not that I haven't been creating or writing. It's just I haven't been putting anything out there. And I'm just kind of sitting there going, like, I just don't, it's not like I'm afraid to. I just don't feel like I want to, I'm not feeling a call to do it or whatever. And part of me is just kind of like, is it now? Is it now? Is it now? But I feel like I'm learning through something right now. And I'm allowing for that. I'm not making it wrong. I'm just being in the question of it. What is this? This is interesting, and still staying in the creation. I had a conversation with someone over the weekend where, they were saying, well, I need to wait till I'm in the mood and, to create. Otherwise it's da, da, da. And then I'm like, no, as a creator, we need to be doing it all the time, because this is like, that's how you work through stuff. That's how things come up. We change, our work changes the more you do something. It's not static. It's think about anything we do. It's like it evolves over time. And so we have to be paying attention to the work itself, our rhythms, the rhythms within the work, so it's not about just, I'm waiting for the mood to strike. If I waited for the mood to strike, I'd never get any work done. I don't know about you.
It's so true. It's so true that, if I kind of set hours for myself and I do certain things. I am very tied to my calendar for the reason that it helps me stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I was to wait for, well, I can't say inspiration to hit because that's all the time. But if I was to wait, until I felt in the mood to get out the paints or felt in the mood to write, I wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, like yourself, I have been checking in more when I'm called to something or called away from something or find myself ignoring something.
Yeah.
What's underneath this, right? Like,
Yeah.
it, not a, good, bad, or otherwise. It's just like, what is this? What is this that's happening right now?
Yeah.
And so just that exploration, really trying to stay out of the shaming of self that we're so good at.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah.
And just explore what's happening and why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed something recently that, like, it was really funny. I'd be writing and then all of a sudden it's like I get ants in my pants, I got to get up and do stuff. And so I let myself do that a few times. And then I started to notice, like, what's happening to me? Is it like the amount of time I'm sitting in the chair? I need to get up, because sometimes I need to do that. Or is it something else? What's pressing my ants in the pants button? So I just watched it, got curious about it. And then I said, okay, now I'm going to sit through it. I'm going to notice when I feel the urge to get up, and I'm going to make myself sit and see what happens. And it was something I needed to break through. It wasn't this big, huge revelation, but it was just I had an aha while I was writing, and there was a part of my unconscious mind that said, nope, we don't want to see this, because then you're going to have to shift something. We don't know if you want to do that. So Yeah, ants in the pants. It was get up and go, right? The get up and
Mhm.
go energy. It was the flee. It wasn't dramatic though. It was just like, oh geez, I wonder what's going on out there, you know?
Mine always seems to take me to the kitchen. And when I get like that, it's like it takes me to our place isn't that big, so, like, I just
Yeah.
head out the door and there's the kitchen, and
Mhm.
it's like, "Okay, why? Like, what is this about?" And so then, doing some
Mhm.
reflecting. What I've found that, if I catch myself doing something like that, either pull out the journal or, just question. And if I, find myself distracted, sometimes, you know, distraction is just like, I need to breathe. And so
Mhm.
I'll put a timer on for 5 or 10 minutes and just allow that distraction, right? Whether it's scrolling or, but only for a limited time. And then I want to come back to whatever, I was doing.
Mhm.
Because often those distractions is our brain's way of protecting us. And
Mhm.
which really just means, something different is happening. We have to learn a new skill. We have to work on something that's, maybe more um, like a little deeper, and we have to go a little bit more, and there might be emotion involved. And our
Mhm.
brain is like, oh, no, 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 we can't have that because
Mhm.
it equates any change to we're going to die.
Mhm.
So it doesn't know the difference between trying something new and stepping in front of a bus. We're going
Mhm.
to die. And
Mhm.
so when I catch myself, caught in that maybe scrolling or some sort of distraction, it is okay, just going to allow this for a moment, talk to my brain a little bit, do that. We can do this. It's okay. We're not going to die. And then back on track, right? To
Mhm.
come back to it. Yeah. Understanding how our own system works. I mean, how humans work, but also then how our own systems work within that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
important. And it's been such a learning curve.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the big key is just watch yourself. It's awareness, and it is this with compassion and not making yourself wrong.
Yeah.
That one's more challenging because we're used to, operating out of that, the shame and blame, but that's a pattern we get to shift to. And it happens over time. And I think the best thing we do is just start getting curious about ourselves. Like, we're here to get to know ourselves. I mean, we are curious beings,
Yeah.
and, a lot of that curiosity got shut down because it was like, do what I tell you to do and don't question me. Don't question my authority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's how we learn, and we never stop, just because we're of the ages that we're at, it doesn't matter what age you're at, you're always here learning stuff. Things are unfolding, things are changing all the time. You can't know it all. Nobody knows it all. And we
No.
don't even know if we thought we know it all. There's no way we can, because look at how big the universe is. We don't even know how big the universe is. Okay. So how can we know everything?
Yes. I know because science, the gospel science, is still being proven wrong on a regular, as
Yeah.
they learn more and expand more.
Yeah.
So it's
They get
what
to be
we know
curious too.
now.
Nothing's set in stone. But like its industry kind of goes along with that too, it takes what science is discovering and freezes it down so that people can make money off of it,
Mhm.
and then if we're making money off of it, then fear comes in because we can't have something new come in, because that's going to change that paradigm, and then we won't be able to make money on it anymore, so
So true. Oh, goodness, goodness.
yeah,
All right,
we're a bunch, aren't we?
this humaning so much, so much. Um, so you've been doing a lot more client work now as opposed to, um, you know, online and out in the world. I guess it's still out in the world, but you're much more one-on-one work now.
Yeah, definitely doing more hands-on. I'm using the media to kind of reach people, but I'm not necessarily doing things online. I do support people online because it's actually a hybrid. I do online sessions, but then people end up coming here. It's all part of the package of like doing the healing work in person. There's a lot you can do online and shifting the behavior, shifting the energy, but there's something to be said about the experience itself. We
Mhm.
still need to have touch, tactile experiences, to be able to shift things. And it's not one or the other, it's both and. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's interesting, the community. So my mastermind, we work on the seasonal planning, working with the seasons and the energy of the seasons. And we switched that last year after doing our big year planning in over the New Year's weekend. And then we ended up switching it because everything felt off for us, right? And so this past year we've been in seasonal planning. And so this year we're doing our annual seasonal planning with Imbok, which is at the beginning of February.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing a lot of writing, preparing, getting ready for that, creating, as we move from this rest and reflection time that basically from Yule to Imbolc is, into intention setting, moving forward, starting to plan time. And it's been interesting, the conversations I've been having around that. And so, I will be releasing tomorrow more information on our seasonal planning that we're doing for the year, for that weekend. So I'll make sure to put the link up here as well. But yeah, that's what we have going on right now.
Yeah.
Any final, things to say before we go?
Nope. I'm just going to, in my Substack that I have is what's coming up for that is kind of cohesing all of the thoughts. And the weekend I just had was really amazing. So it really helped me put things back into perspective, or into a new order. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to be writing a lot about some of the ahas I experienced over this weekend in relation to whatever started happening for me in December. So lots of big insights I'm going to be sharing. So looking forward to that.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications for both channels. And also, leave comments. We would love to see your comments, and, we will answer them. So thank you. Thank you everyone. And we will see you next month.
All right. Be well.